Hello and welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast. We are live and it is Friday night. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have all had a wonderful week because I'd say this week has been rather emotional around the office and we wouldn't have it any other way. And I'll get to everyone else here in just a second. I am your host, Chris Dohmen. And guys, I'm excited. It's a great time to be excited because there's a lot of cool things happening all across this space. There's a lot of cool things happening on this show. There's a lot of cool things happening for this channel. And we'll get more into that in a bit. But first, I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel for tonight's show, starting with my usual co-host, Kees Cornelisse. Kees, what's up?
Back on the show. I've not had the best of weeks. That's, of course, because, fortunately, my girlfriend left last Sunday. And I haven't seen her since because we haven't been able to Skype since. That kind of sucks because of my shitty afternoon shift. But as shitty as my week was, I am very excited about tonight. We already had a great reaction tape earlier. I'm not going to say anything about it, but it was great. And I'm, of course, very excited about the guests. So, and of course, I'm happy that it's weekend because I'm off and I can do whatever that I want. So let's have a good show.
Indeed. Nico, there's a reason the camera's not on you yet, but there's something that's happening apparently right now live at D23. You want to talk about it for a moment?
Kenobi!
Ewan is currently on stage at D23 announcing Kenobi.
Okay. So obviously we're going to talk a whole lot about the stuff that was just recently announced. We won't go too into depth with it because it's all just happening right now. So there's a lot of
we'll
new
get more
information
in depth next week.
But we're in a pre-taped segment.
Yeah, I'll say we'll get more in depth live next week.
But fucking Kenobi, it's been a long time coming, and now it's here. And not to mention, we also have a bunch of Marvel stuff happening too that we also are going to talk about.
I have a question. Is it TV or movie?
TV.
Okay. Right.
Yes. As it should be, because I hate to say it. What could you do with a movie at this point? You couldn't.
And I like that. And right now we're just speculating, but I like that a lot of what we're getting with the new Star Wars shows coming out in their first repertoire into live action, it's gonna have a very Western feel to it from the look of it in everything. Because you got the Mandalorian, that's sort of like an outlaw story, and then Kenobi, you've got it's gonna feel like a Western. So I'm excited.
In case you guys can't tell, I'm very happy about that because I happen to love the Westerns genre. So. And apparently, this is just in from Brian Nussbaum. He lets us know that the show is set to take place after the events of Solo, a Star Wars story. So, yay. So that's like where we'll be in the timeline.
Yeah. Well, actually, that makes sense with Ewan's age.
Yeah.
So will Han Solo have made his journey to Tatooine yet, or?
No, not yet.
Not yet. But he'll be like on the way there. I mean, I'm sure there'll be like a moment where maybe we see Alden and Eunice Hatomo for 2 seconds, but there won't be any interaction, obviously, because they don't actually meet till New Hope.
What if we got like something with Dr. Evans on? That would be pretty interesting.
Maybe like get an explanation of how his face got so fucked up. That'd be fun. But anyway, yes, so some crazy shenanigans are happening literally right now, including the Marvel announcements of Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel. Again, this is a lot to process, so I think we'll wait till next week to really dive into this and really, consume it, digest it, and...
Actually, I think we should record a different show. Just put that up throughout the week somewhere. Where we talk about all the D23 stuff. Because I believe we have the entire show next week already pre-recorded or not?
Just half.
Half. Okay. Well, then, okay.
I'm just gonna since we're not gonna talk about much tonight, I'm just gonna throw this out in the ether and see if it sticks. Please, for the for the lead of She-Hulk, cast Rashida Jones. Cast Rashida Jones. I have thought for the longest time that with her Parks and Recreation background, that would be perfect for the character of She-Hulk. It's a character that likes to break the fourth wall. It's a little bit more funnier than the Hulk that we're used to. Go that route, please. Give the role to Rashida Jones.
Kees, I'm down with that. As he quickly just researches Rashida Jones. That's fine.
No.
Oh.
I know Rashida Jones
Okay.
because I've seen Parks and Rec, and of course the Social Network. I mean, she has a small role in that, but she's good. So sure. I just don't know anything about the character of She-Hulk because I know some of the comic stuff that we haven't seen in the movies, but not all. So She-Hulk, I'm really unfamiliar with.
Fair enough. And that's like me with Moon Knight. Like, I know that Moon Knight is one of the most beloved characters in all of Marvel comics, but I know jack shit. So I hope that like a show like Moon Knight can really introduce me into the character, and I can really sink my teeth into all those shenanigans. And a quick rundown of everybody we got so far in the chat. I've seen Garth McMurray Harkness, good to see you. Brian Newsbaum, as always, good to see you. Star Drew, always happy to see you. Cool Guy, always happy to see you. And whoever else is in the chat, make yourselves known and start talking amongst yourselves. Like, as we're going through the stuff, one of the other things I actually wanted to bring up real quick, Nico, your cousin has got a job.
Yes. So I had heard about this. I believe it was last week or 2 weeks ago. My cousin Anthony Bresnikan, he had been let go from his previous job with Entertainment Weekly, and I just want to state for the record that for the longest time I couldn't remember if it was Entertainment Weekly or the Hollywood Reporter that he worked for. But now but he had been let go recently, and he had been looking for new work, and if you check his Twitter, he had just gotten his dream job. He is now working for Vanity Fair, which I believe is also a company that has close connections with Disney. So it's not like so he's still going to get to do a lot of what he was doing beforehand. It's just now for a publication that he might have wanted to work for more. Those are my words, not his, so don't quote me on that. But I'm very happy for him, and hopefully I get to visit him and his family in December, depending on whether or not we can go to the Spectacular.
Also, why haven't you hit him up to come on the show? I mean, come on, we got a free in. He can give us an hour of his time.
Listen, I had Janine's connection for the longest time, and when I was doing stuff over at Multiplex, I did not want to use it because I did not want her to feel like I was taking advantage of her friendship. And so I'm kind of hesitant to do the same with family.
Okay, that's fair. But all I'm saying is that if I had a relative in the field, I would simply just say, hey, I got this show. I'd like you to come on sometime on your time whenever you're available. But
also, when he is working, he is sometimes very hard to get a hold of.
Fair enough.
That makes sense.
Damn movie journalists, what are they for, right?
Nothing whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, K-Wolf, always good to see you, man. So let's start getting into some movie news and all the other fun stuff. So, yeah, we just got done fanboying and freaking out and having a blast. But there is something on my mind that I'm not very excited for. And if you know my taste in movies, you know why. So, I want to be perfectly clear. I have a lot of respect for the Wachowski sisters as filmmakers. They're very influential. They, have helped craft stories that will last the test of time. Except now they want to come back to their best-known property with the original stars when I don't recall the story ending well for their characters in The Matrix Revolutions, but somehow here we are. Lana Wachowski is doing The Matrix 4 with Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss attached to the project. Nico, refresh me. You still have not gotten around to The Matrix yet?
No, and I know it's not a cyborgish type thing, but it does kind of fall into the category of if you can plug your brain into a computer, then I'm likely not going to want to I'm
But
not going to want to watch
your
it.
brain is a computer, to be fair.
Yeah, but it's an organic computer. Plugging it into like an actual technological computer with wires and gears and whatnot, it's just.
Nico, you haven't seen the movie. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, but that's okay.
It's just this is just something I haven't felt the desire to dive into. Although I will say, I was familiar for the longest time that Keanu Reeves was affiliated with this property, and he's been on fire recently. So it's nice to see him returning to a role that obviously made him a lot of money and a lot of happiness. I did not realize Carrie-Anne Moss was a part of this, and say what you will about Jessica Jones, but she was like a big staple of that Netflix series.
Yeah.
With the character of Jerry Hogarth. She was the lawyer for basically a lot of the defenders. She wasn't a great lawyer at times. Mostly a lot of personal stuff in her life interfered with her professional stuff in terms of that character. But that just shows that she knows how to play a good heel. She knows how to get you invested as an actress, and so maybe I'll dive into this, but that's a hard maybe leaning toward no.
Now, Case, as a huge fan of the original Matrix, and
I am by far the biggest fan of the Matrix out of this entire panel.
Yes,
I can say that.
Considering that the only one that I think is actually like genuinely great is the animated one.
That is so true.
Yeah, but Case, what are your thoughts about this movie actually happening with Keanu and Carrie? How does this make sense?
So, Keanu Reeves died in Revolution. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie-Anne Moss died in Revolution. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck does this make any lick of sense?
Nope.
Seriously, the story starts in the Matrix with Neo getting out of the Matrix, going into the real world. That's where his journey starts.
Allegedly.
And it ends with his death, where he takes down Agent Smith, and everything is good. It's done. It's a done story over 3 movies. I mean, as much as the second one is meh and the third one is garbage, it still ended. There is a definitive, wrap. And now the thing is, the animated one filled in a couple of things in between, but they didn't use any of the main characters for that. They only used side characters that were in the same universe. So I don't get it. The only way that I could be okay with this is if they retcon Revolutions and Reloaded, make a completely new story from that point on, and make up a completely new ending that is good, that they feel that the audience will also like.
Well,
that is the only way to be okay with it.
What they could also do, technically, and still include Revolutions and Reloaded, is if they go off of this popular theory that when Keanu took the red pill, he actually triggered a new simulation, and that's kind of what this theory is that all the events of the Matrix are just a giant computer simulation, just to basically keep the computers from killing the humans in the real world. That essentially, there's 2 layers to this. So there's the Matrix world, then there's the Matrix world outside of the Matrix world, and then there's the real world. That's what the theory basically states. I don't agree with it.
This is like getting all kinds of Inception vibes, and I'm not liking it.
I mean, Case, it's almost like you don't like that movie or something.
No, I do not. And Ryan is very well aware of that, even though he's not on the show right now.
Bastard. Yeah, where's my down-tune dissection debate, you motherfucker? I want that debate out, because, guys, as soon as that fucking Slipknot episode drops, you are all in for a treat. Literally, Ryan and I almost yell at each other. It gets that intense.
Wait, don't you guys always yell at each other?
Yeah, to be fair. I mean, name a time when we haven't.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Right? But yeah, so I for any of you who are excited for it, like honestly, tell me why you're excited in the chat. But myself, no, I'm not.
Tell me what. Tell me where there's the excitement in this because I don't see it.
Exactly. And someone else who's not having a very exciting week is Mr. Tom Holland, unfortunately, because he kind of got a double deuce dropped on him this week, starting with the unfortunate news that Marvel and Sony, it seems, were not able to come to an agreement on the renewal of the Spider-Man deal. And we all kind of suffer for it, except for, Sony, who think that just because Spider-Verse is one of the most beloved movies of the decade and because Venom actually made a profit, they think, oh, well, we can get away with demanding, more than a 50-50 deal from Disney. Okay, I mean, Nico, you had a lot of thoughts about this, so I'll let you start us off.
Okay, so from what I understand, negotiations are still ongoing because last we heard on, I believe it was Collider Live yesterday, Sony had counter-offered Disney with 30/70, and I guess Disney chose not to take it. But in a statement made by Sony, they were trying to be very generous to Kevin Feige, saying, with the Fox properties coming in, Feige's going to have his hands full and might not be able to dedicate a lot of time to Spider-Man as he once was. But here's the thing about that, and that's that Kevin Feige was helping produce or at least giving creative input behind the scenes for the past Spider-Man stuff, back when Sam Raimi was doing it and when I think Avi Arad took over. Regardless of where the ownership was, Kevin Feige has always had a love of Spider-Man and just wants to see the absolute best for this character. And here's another thing. Every time they've tried Spider-Man, look first at Sam Raimi. He got the first two right, and then the third one was a big whiff. And so they had to wait a long-ass time before they tried to reboot it. Second time with Avi Arad, they had a successful first pitch, then the second one shit the bed. And then that's when the deal with Marvel Studios came to be. And in the 5 movies that Tom Holland has been in as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, they've all done very, very well, regardless of whether it was because of just Tom Holland as an actor being that good or because of the connection to the MCU tying a much greater overarching story. It's been successful. And so I see Sony's complaint in that Disney still owns the merchandising rights to the character.
Yes.
And so 50-50, that doesn't really work for them because that just means Disney's making more of a profit than Sony would overall because, again, you've got the toys. You've now got half control over this character that we still have the licensing rights to. What are we getting in return? 30/70. Yeah, that's a more generous offer. But again, it's a double-edged sword, as you said, with Venom making a profit and with Into the Spider-Verse doing so well for itself that it gave Sony false confidence again to take their ball and go home. And I like that even with all the stuff going on at D23 to sort of distract from this story of where is Spider-Man going in the future, that it seems like negotiations are still trying to be made and they still want to make this work because, again, they've established the phase 3 ended on a gigantic cliffhanger of what does it mean for this character, and to just have to be okay, we no longer have any more, so we can never retouch on that thing. It's going to be seriously awkward.
I mean, if I had to describe the negotiations from an outsider's perspective in one fell swoop, I'd say negotiations were short. But I know. Boo you whore, whatnot. But Kees, is Sony just trying to get greedy, or is Disney being too pushy on Sony? Or is there something in between here?
I think it's a bit of both. Sony is Sony is the emperor. They're like they're overconfident. They're like, oh, we have shown that we can also make a great Spider-Man movie on our own with Into the Spider-Verse, which is right because it's the best Spider-Man movie. So that
Easily.
yeah, they got a point there. They've also shown to make a successful movie about a Spider-Man character without Spider-Man in Venom. Doesn't matter what you think of the movie was a huge success. It made so much money that it's like, yeah, they definitely have a property there that they could continue. Of course, the question is how much the second one will make, but based on the fact that a lot of people like the first one, it will probably make money. And the thing is, the deal with the MCU worked out really well. And they're like, okay, I think Sony is like, oh, we see what you have. We see that you want to really continue the Spider-Man character in Phase 4 to become essentially the new leader or one of the leaders of the team because he has been around quite a while and he has that potential. Like he's young, and he can learn, but he'll learn, I think. So that's why Sony is like, okay, now we need to grab you by the balls. We need to show you that that this is still our character, and that you bow down to us. That's what and that's the thing because Sony is like, because if you don't bow down to us, then we'll simply take the character away from you, and you can't make more movies, and then your universe is fucked. So, like, part of me is like Sony has a point. Part of me is Sony are dicks. On the other hand, you can say the same thing about Disney. Disney has been doing a very successful job with the character in the Avengers movies, Civil War, and the Spider-Man standalone movies of the MCU, where they make so much money. I believe all of those movies have made over $1 billion. Oh no, wait, except for Homecoming. Homecoming is the only exception. Yeah, and one of them,
and one of those movies is the highest-grossing movie ever made.
Exactly. So Disney is like, oh, we're having a really good deal, and we're making a lot of profit. So regardless of what we offer Sony will get a fair share out of it. But yeah, that's the thing. Disney also owns the merchandising rights, and that's also a huge thing. So I think Disney is definitely greedy there, and they should, say, guys, let's do 30-70 or 60-40. I don't know, but Disney is making way too much money as it is because not only do they own Marvel, they also own all the Disney animated and now the live action remakes, which, by the way, Lion King is closing in on $1.5 billion. And of course, they have Star Wars. So, yeah.
And National Geographic and Pixar.
And Pixar, yeah. So, that, like, Disney has no reason whatsoever to complain about the fact that that Sony wants more of a cut, and so in a way, I actually side with Sony on this one. Besides the fact that I have the idea that the moment that the rights go fully on back to Sony and they stop the collaboration with Disney, Sony's going to shit the bed again with their character because they clearly do not understand that character. The only reason they had successes is because, they got the right people on for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they made the deal with Disney.
Yeah.
So
it's awkward because you're either rooting against a monopoly, or you're rooting against the continuation of a great story.
Pretty much.
And by the way, it's not a monopoly. It owns a huge part of the market, but it's not a monopoly.
Well, it's becoming one. It's unfortunately becoming one. But, that's the lovely side of free market. You gotta love it. But yeah, and that's not the only thing that Tom Holland's been getting crapped on this week with. So we know how there was a lot of a lot of momentum going for this Uncharted movie where Tom Holland was going to play a young Nathan Drake, and that he was probably going to be playing his character probably for the next 20, 25 years of his life. It would basically be his Indiana Jones. And it's delayed once again because director Dan Trachtenberg has stepped out. Apparently, he still has a good relationship with Sony. Good job. But, yeah. Okay. I think Brian Nussbaum put this correctly, where he said that he believes that the China 6 Corporation put the idea in Sony's head of asking more money for Disney and in the Sony deal for Spidey. And I think the China 6 Corporation also said, hey, listen, Dan Trachtenberg, why don't you step out of this movie? You don't want to do your quote-unquote dream job of a movie. Seriously, China 6 Corporation, knock it off. You are ruining Hollywood. But,
No.
Kees, did you have any thoughts about the Uncharted movie now getting delayed again?
Absolutely no whatsoever.
Fair enough.
I have no information about the property, so just move on.
Fair enough. Nico?
I'm having flashbacks to all the reports we've done on The Flash and that movie.
Yeah.
Because, what was the first delay because of?
Writer. First writer, then director, then writer.
Okay, this is literally the same thing that happened to The Flash. Writers and or directors continuously fell out over and over and over again.
Yep.
And what wasn't Sony just gonna focus on video games? I thought I heard something about them maybe shortening down their movie division to focus more on video games because that's where they're usually good. That's where they've had the most success. Is that?
I was gonna say I heard that joke at a stand up club too. Yeah, it was a good joke.
Oof, big oof. But yeah, I think so. Sony is like me with a lot of my matches in that once they get the slightest bit of success, they run with the ball a little too farther than they probably should at that moment, and they don't know how to pace themselves. And this is what happens when they don't slow down every now and then. Is just these things fall through, and then we end up with something that doesn't work.
Okay, so what you're saying is Robert Parker is Disney and Tim Bracala is Dan Trachtenberg. Okay, gotcha.
If you want to think about it that way, sure.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure.
All right.
Why not?
Yeah. Look, I am a fan of the first of the Uncharted games. I think they are a great adventure serial series that does kind of harken back to Indiana Jones and everything that came before that. But just fucking make the movie. I don't care if it's Sean Levy, Drew Goddard, Dan Trachtenberg. I just get someone good. Make the fucking movie, and let's get this over with, okay? I am getting sick to death of these movies that, keep getting delayed because creative differences or whatever the fuck your reasoning is. Guys, I know you're just as frustrated as I am. Please tell me in the chat or let me know on Twitter or Facebook, But moving on to something I want to be more excited for, but I'm not. Sorry? Kees, as the biggest James Bond fan on the panel, we have gotten news that Daniel Craig's last film finally has our title.
I know.
And the title is No Time to Die. Your thoughts?
It's a very typical Bond title.
Live and Let Die, Die Another Day.
Yeah,
Tomorrow Never Dies.
That's the thing. Die has been used in titles along with Kill and Live, and it's either Live or Die in James Bond. It seems very often. So in that regard, it's a very James Bond-like title. It's really going back to the older titles because the most recent ones with Spectre. Well, okay, Spectre is a Bond term, but not necessarily a title for a movie. That's not something that they would go for with the older movies. Skyfall, definitely not. Quantum of Solace, I still don't know what the fuck that title means, but whatever. And well, Casino Royale speaks for itself, so that is kind of like an old. But this title is definitely going back to the older titles where they were kind of campy, corny action movies with Die in the title, because why not? It's an action movie. It's James Bond with Die in the title. Why not? That's pretty much all I have to say. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's terrible. It's a title. I
Can
cannot
we just
judge
get the
a movie.
goddamn trailer already?
That's the thing. I cannot judge a movie by a title. I can judge it by a trailer. So give me a goddamn trailer because, like, some announcements for this movie have been very interesting. So I want to see. I want to see it. I don't want to. Yeah. Title. I don't care. See a trailer. Let's see a trailer.
Fair enough. Nico?
I feel like this title is sort of like Daniel Craig screaming out for help, in that I've got no time to die because I have to keep making these movies because they make money and I have a contract.
And now I just remember the woman saying, "Ain't nobody got time for that."
Like I'm trying to think, what were the other titles they were probably thinking of? Just like title A, just let me die. Just let me die. That would have been an appropriate title.
Title, get me the hell out of here.
Or why won't you let me die? Just a lot of things with the word die in the title, because that's what Daniel Craig wants to happen to his portrayal of 007. He just wants to die, collect one more paycheck, and then move on to other things.
Like Knives Out.
He's been saying this for 5 years. Just let me move on. Just let me move on is what he's been saying for 5 years, and now finally this is his swan song.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I've been feeling about it myself. Like, I think the title sounds interesting. I kind of wish they had told us who was going to be singing the song, because that's what I'm more interested by.
Yeah,
like,
because who will win the Oscar for it?
Oh God, okay. Writings on the Wall is not a bad song by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm still pissed that thing won Best Original Song.
What did you want to win?
That year. Oh shit! You know what? Hold on. Give me just 2 seconds to look this up.
I honestly don't remember any of the other songs nominated at the time, so I'm just like,
But in all seriousness, this title is actually kind of appropriate given what we know about the plot, where like he has no time to die, he had no time to retire because the new 007 is in a pickle and she needs to recruit the old, and so that he's like, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. It adds some realness to the title here. So, jokes aside, given the premise, I think it works.
Okay, never mind. Touche case. There was literally no competition that year. Okay, I'll shut up.
See? That's the thing. There was no competition.
Oh, that's right, because Sing Street wasn't released till the following year. And
No.
Where was that goddamn nomination? Literally. Actually, okay, I'm going to stop the show dead for just 2 seconds, and I just want to, like, gush about this soundtrack. I literally just today, I randomly turned on the Sing Street soundtrack because Robert Parker put out a post of, like, this soundtrack still slaps. Then I retweeted it saying, if somebody says this soundtrack doesn't slap, I will slap them. Yeah, because it's that great of a soundtrack.
La La Land had one nomination too many.
Yeah, fair enough.
But this thing, I don't care how much people like the other song that was also nominated for La La Land and didn't win. It had never a chance of winning, and it was always going to be City of Stars. So fuck off with the audition and put in Drive It Like You Stole It, because that is a way better song than most of the other songs nominated, and that would have actually given City of Stars a run for its money, I feel.
And that's also just the damn shame about Sing Street. Nobody fucking saw it.
No! And it was so fucking great.
And actually, you know what? Brian Nussbaum, I agree with you. I think for Moana, they should have taken out How Far I'll Go, and they should have put in You're Welcome, just so we can have The Rock singing at the Oscars. That would have been the greatest thing ever. Ever.
Actually, that's the thing. I believe How Far I'll Go is one of the weaker songs of that soundtrack.
And don't get me wrong, it's still a really good song.
It's a good song, but there are better songs on the soundtrack.
Yes, there are. So, yeah, sorry, we kind of just...
How did this become Downton Dissection?
No. We're talking about film soundtracks.
Well,
songs made for film.
But
so
to be fair, if you just ask Ryan, we can do an episode on favorite film soundtracks, because hey, it's still music.
It's just a question of when Ryan will be back on the show again.
Yeah, god damn it, where the fuck has he been? Like,
And
okay, and for real, guys, he's
trust
he's actually he's just moving back to Atlanta. He is back at college and doing his thing. But come on, man, he fucking.
And given our next story on the list, I'm kind of glad he's not here for this conversation because I might say something that'll piss him off.
Then Nico, by all means, the floor is yours. Talk to me about a movie that I am suddenly super hyped for. Tell me about the Adam Driver starring political drama, The Report.
Okay, so The Report is a movie that'll be on Amazon, and basically it sort of follows this guy who, after 9/11, he completely changes his pursuits for college, wants to focus on national security, and he essentially becomes the guy who exposes what the United States was doing as enhanced interrogation. I say in quotation marks. He I believe he plays the guy who pretty much whistle blows the entire thing, and he gets a lot of flack from the U.S. government, which was the George W. Bush administration at the time. Although you could make the argument that Dick Cheney was running the whole damn show and W was just the puppet. And so now he's sort of dealing with the fallout of it all of like, I want to get the word out. I want to get it right. And you see, like, I feel like I'm not doing the trailer justice in my description of it, but it looks like something I definitely want to watch.
I'll do better. I'll get more into it once Case speaks his piece. Case, you're probably one of the biggest Adam Driver fans that I know.
Oh, cool. Actually, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't see the trailer before we started the show. The thing is, I essentially forgot about it because you dropped the show notes when I was getting out of work. I needed to race home in the shower, get a drink, get some coffee, get some food, and get on camera with you guys to react. And then after that, I kind of just forgot about it. So I'm sorry about that. But look, what I'm hearing from from Nico's description, that sounds very interesting. And I'll see any Adam Driver. That guy cannot do anything wrong. Anything I've seen him in, he is great. He always gives his A game. He always delivers a fantastic performance. It's a crime a little that he's only been nominated for one Oscar. That Oscar nom was definitely deserved. And I really hope that this is another one for him.
And from all the buzz that I've been hearing, this sounds like it will be his first Best Actor nomination, and I'm excited. I'm excited as fuck for this movie because
wait, you said Best Actor nomination, but considering it's going to be on Amazon,
Best Lead. Oh, and yes, this movie will be released in theaters at least two. It only has to get released in two, one in New York and one in LA, and it will be released. I promise you. So that way he can get nominated, and he will get nominated.
Yeah.
Like, put money on it now. Take the words from my mouth, folks. This movie will get nominated for Best Lead Actor for Adam Driver, and it should be, because I can already tell from this trailer. Good God. So, take the, I'll put it this way, Case. Take the intrigue of all the shit that was going on. Take the political intrigue of Vice. But now we're going to actually make it serious. We're not going to be so in your face with how stupid it is, and we're going to actually treat this with seriousness. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know you didn't like Vice. But I'm saying,
no, you don't know. You don't understand why I didn't like Vice, because I actually know the story quite well.
Okay.
It's just that I think Vice, the screenplay was extremely messy and didn't tell the story well. So if this story can tell a streamlined version. Like where it's well written, where you can follow the story, because seriously, Vice was all over the place in that regard. I feel then this movie can be extreme, because I was extremely hyped for Vice. I thought it would be a very great movie, and I knew Adam McKay. I mean, he's an Oscar-winning writer because of The Big Short, and that movie is very good. And that movie actually, while a little messy, it still explains the story quite well. And Vice had an issue with that, so I hope that this movie can be a lot more, just more better written. Period.
Oh, I love The Big Short, by the way. That was a great movie.
That is
Yeah.
a great movie.
If you haven't, check it out.
Funny if I still haven't gotten to Vice yet. Sorry, guys.
Neither have I, sadly.
Not worth it in all honesty.
Although I take that with a little bit of grain of salt, just because you and I do have some fairly opposite taste in regards to some films.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm still going to check it out, but I do have hesitation. Like, I'm sure it's fine, but, I'm sure I won't be like, oh, this is great. All right. But we're going to move on to our final story before we hit the break. And I think it's safe to say we all like Michael Rooker to some extent.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
I mean, from 2 movies, sure. I've not seen him in anything else.
He was in Mallrats, and the first time I saw it, it was one of my favorite Kevin Smith movies. Second time I saw it, it kind of dropped down on the list a little bit, but I still recognize that it has its appeal. And Michael Rooker was one of the best things about that movie.
Yes,
he plays the protective dad role very well, and that's just another example of it, much like in Guardians 2, regardless of how you feel about the writing of it. And he's just great. He's just great. He seems like the type of guy you want to have coffee with and just shoot the shit for Lord knows how long. And now because of that familial presence, it feels right that he's now going into a movie franchise that has become about family a lot these past couple of years in Fast 9.
Family.
And I'm curious to see like how he interacts with. We already know that he's had some interactions with Vin Diesel through Guardians, but now we get to see like how does he interact with Michelle Rodriguez, and John Cena is also going to be in this. Like people keep forgetting that, but he's going to be in this, and
trust me, I did.
And potentially filling in the role of filling the vacancy that's been left by The Rock if he's no longer going to be associated with the main Fast gang, because I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw yet, so I really can't say for certain how that played out. But I'm excited because, again, Michael Rooker is just the best. And so him being in this franchise that I like makes me happy.
Yeah. Kees, as the other Fast and Furious fan on the panel, what are your thoughts about Michael Rooker joining the cast of Fast 9 in addition to John Cena?
Look, John Cena and Michael Rooker, I feel, are added in to replace other people because unfortunately we lost Paul Walker, and that didn't do the franchise any good because I thought Fate of the Furious was worse than 5, 6, and 7. And Hobbs and Shaw, I believe, was even a little bit worse. Like, I still like Fate of the Furious and Hobbs and Shaw, but they were a little less. And that is in my opinion, mostly because of the fact that Paul Walker and Vin Diesel had such a great chemistry in the first couple of movies that you can't replace that. And I feel that they're trying to get something new going. Michael Rooker, from what I've seen from Guardians of the Galaxy, is a good actor, and it seems that he is a very fun guy to have in a movie. And I feel that he would fit the role of a Fast and Furious movie. So in that regard, I think he could be a very good addition, as well as John Cena. But we'll have to wait and see. Because I was thinking about it actually after I saw Hobbs and Shaw, that I was like, I'm not sure if I like the new direction that the Fast and Furious movies are taking because of the fact that they lost Paul Walker. And I know they have to, but I'm not sure if they're doing the right thing with it. We'll see.
Okay, for real, that's a fair point you brought up, because that was kind of what struck me wrong about Fate of the Furious. Like, it was the first film where it was clearly without Paul, and without Paul, you kind of lost your emotional center. Like, he was the guy that you actually care about of the crew, but now it's kind of become the Dom show, and it's become the Letty show, and sort of the Roman show, but you kind of hate Roman. At least I do, because
I love him. I love him so
No,
much.
no.
See, he's kind of like that character that you're supposed to hate, but you also kind of like because you feel like he's fun at parties. But it's because if he's fun at parties that you can't really have a real conversation with him, and it's going to result in you getting shot at. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what Roman is.
Pretty much. And I will also say, Brian Nussbaum actually brought a very fun speculation piece where, why don't we play a quick game of who is Michael Rooker going to be? Brian Nussbaum actually says that he's either Dom's old friend or a long-lost brother. I don't know if they'll necessarily go that route with it, but you guys got any speculation you want to throw in?
Well, he can't be the dad. That's obvious because the dad's been dead since movie number 1. Unless he is the dad in like a memory, but I don't think they would go that route and make such a big deal about him being part of this movie if it were just that sort of role. So maybe a familial relation. I'm just not sure how. We also got to factor in that we have a baby in this movie now because like Dom is taking care of his love child with Elena. Granted, Elena's dead now, so he's taking care of it with Letty. Taking care of Brian Marcos Toretto is the child's name. So maybe uncle to take care of the baby while Dom is off doing who knows what. Hard to say. They got another bald guy to replace the 2 other bald guys that are no longer there.
Lord.
Fair enough. Case?
I don't know. I frankly don't care as long as he's a fun new character.
All right, fair enough. So before we actually head to break, there's a couple of things of housekeeping I want to take care of real quick. One, so next week, as Nico and I kind of alluded to, we will be pre-taping the episode because, well, he and I are going to be in New York, and because of that, because unfortunately both of my laptops are pieces of shit, and I haven't bothered getting them upgraded yet. We're not gonna have a show next week. At least not a live one. But we will be pre-taping. We've already pre-taped the second half of next week's show. We'll probably do the first half Monday, Tuesday. We'll figure it out after we're done.
Can we say what's going to happen on the second half of the show?
But I am gonna say it right now, and we have one hell of a get, and it's really a hell of a get because I'm never staying up this late for a fucking interview ever fucking again.
Seriously, we were up until 4:15 in the morning my time.
Yeah.
Getting this taken care of.
Yep. And here's the thing. Kaiser, we love you. We honest to God do. And yes, guys, that's who it is. We will have Kaiser on the Who Cares Anyway podcast next week. But oh my God, I'm not doing that again.
And these guys say this while it's 3:18 over here.
You are a night owl, sir.
And in an hour, it will be the time that you. So, I don't care who I am, and I don't care who you are. I do this on a daily basis.
Yeah, but you're used to it. We're not. We're not.
Yeah, I am.
It's true. He is. All right. So, guys, thanks for that little bit. But we are going to take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by the one, the only, the floss master himself, Chandru Dhandapani. Don't go anywhere. Oh, dear God. I'm just going to cut the break. Fuck this nonsense. We'll see you guys in a bit. And welcome back to the second half of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. So I made sure that I edited the breaks. That way we wouldn't get another copyright claim like we have for the last 3 weeks because dummy me forgot to not put in a clip from the Slipknot reaction that wasn't ours to use. Oops. But as I mentioned up top and as I mentioned right before we hit the break, on the call, joining us right now live from the LA area, he is, I would argue, the hottest new shining star in the InnerGeekDom of the movie trivia Schmoedown. Please, everybody, join me in welcoming Chandru Dhandapani. Chandru, thank you so much for being here, man. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you for having me. It's a little bit exhausted tonight, but it's just from work. But like, I'm really excited to be on and like talk to you guys about the Schmoedown. It's just like brightens my day to talk about it.
We're happy to have you.
We are incredibly happy to have you. Because as we had mentioned off camera, like, I would certainly say that your personality is definitely one of our favorites across the board. And like, and let's just actually start from the beginning. How did you come to hear about the movie Trivia Schmoedown?
Oh, I was a big Screen Junkies fan. Like I've been for the past year and a half to 2 years, and like Dan Merle talking about the Schmoedown is like how I got to know about it. A lot of Schmoedown players have come on movie fights, and I've like always wanted to check it out, and then finally I did, and then like I think after one match I was hooked. That day, like as soon as I watched my first Schmoedown match, I watched like 7 or 8 back to back.
Wow.
And then within a month I had seen like all of the Schmoedown matches to date. I was hooked instantly.
Awesome. And then so from there you just hit up Christian, and he must have taken a liking to you instantly, because holy crap, you have been nothing but incredible, as far as your personality goes. So tell us a little bit about like how you sort of formed your amazing personality of that the Floss Master, as I've just come to call you on our reaction videos.
So yeah, as with Schmoedown, most of our personalities are like either like full blown characters or like just heightened versions of ourselves, right? Like it's just it's so that was my idea going into it. So once I became a big fan of the Schmoedown, I went to like a live event in September in LA, and then I went to the awards show too. In the live event, like I just got to take a picture with Mark and Christian, but didn't have much time to talk to them. But like luckily in the awards show, they were just hanging out after the show, and there was more time for like fan interaction. I walked up and talked to a lot of my favorite Schmoedown pros, like Snyder, Bibiani, and Guy, and of course the Shire Wolves. And I got a chance to speak to Christian too, and I was and I also spoke with Kalinowski, and I got a chance to like talk to Christian too, and I was like telling him how the day Spectacular dropped, I just like basically stayed at home and watched the whole thing in front of my TV. I was like hooked the entire time, and I was talking to him about potentially like joining the InnerGeekDom, and then he brought me in. So because all aspects of Schmoedown interest me, I wanted to like think about like what my entrance would be, what my character would be, what my nickname would be, and everything.
Yeah.
And that's how initially it was the zeitgeist. So it made sense for me to like come out doing the Fortnite dances, the floss, and the shoot and the kick too. Like a lot of people forget that I did the shoot and the kick also, but like the floss is the one that stuck. And after the first match, Christian sort of workshopped the other one, Chandru the Chosen. He likes alliterations. Like I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's like way too many alliterative nicknames, and I didn't know about the Chosen nickname until like I actually went on to the desk for my second match. I was under the impression I was still going to be called the Zeitgeist, so I kept the floss going, and but even though now the name is changed to Chosen, for the first 2 matches we kept the floss, and so that kind of become the character trait. We're trying to like tone it down a little bit, not just floss. Like I don't if you've noticed in my entrance with Haban, I entered like with the other dance moves. It's like that's one of my performance backgrounds. Like I do a lot of like stage dancing and like improv and play acting as well. So wanted to introduce like more of my dance moves and not just like stick to the flossing, because it's, as you can see, as the society noticed last year or like the last 2 years, the floss gets old really quickly.
And, not as old as dabbing. Not as old as dabbing.
Oh yeah, no. Dabbing will always be older in my book. I don't care what anyone says.
That's true. So we're trying to phase it out. Like hopefully, that's not what I'm known for. Hope that's not all what I'm known for. I'm like trying to add like more complexities and more quirks to my character as time goes along. We'll see.
And it's with those complexities that like has actually been made you nothing but interesting to keep track of as we've been getting to know you more. And what I actually would like to ask is when you had your last match against Jared, were you nervous at all going into that match? Just because he had a little bit of a legacy with that his debut match, he knocked out 4 people, even though his competition admittedly not the best, but was there still a little bit of intimidation factor just going up against who's probably like the best known person outside of the active Schmoedown competitors?
Yes, but I think that match, like Jared, I spoke to Jared before my match as well, and we were both like kind of friendly to each other. So that match, both of us like made it a point to like make the other person feel comfortable during the match as well. And that I think that one I was the least nervous about because my debut, of course, it was my first match in the Schmoedown, so I was so very nervous about it. And my second match was against David Moore and the Warfather, and like no one has seen the Warfather play, so he's an unknown entity, and I didn't know how good he was, and I didn't want to start my Schmoedown career with 2 losses, so I was like really nervous about that one. But with Habon, I don't know, that was the most that was the least nervous I felt about going into the match. I've seen his matches, and if he gets a good wheel slice in round 2, he could like easily run away with the match. But still, I was getting more confident with how I was playing the game, and like my preparation as well. Like I was like focusing on getting better with every match. But that one for some reason was the least nervous I ever felt. I think I'm also coming into my own as a player in the Schmoedown. So the more I play, the more confident I'm getting on the desk as well. And the more less I'm second guessing my own answers. Even this time, I second guess Norway, and but I'm getting better at that in order to like trust that I know what I know, and luckily because of that, I was not as nervous going into it. But his match, the first match where he got 4 knockouts, that he played lights out in that match, and the first time I was watching that match, I was trying to play along too, and I don't think I would have gone to round 3 with him, but I don't think I would have beaten his score just from round 1 and 2. So he had a really good match. So he can be a really dangerous player when he studies. It just depends on which Jared you get on that day, that particular day, and what his wheel slice is. Too.
And you just happen to be getting the Jared that was preparing for a wedding at the time.
Yeah, I was just lucky with that. Like he probably had a lot of things on his plate, but he still showed up in round 2. He had a perfect round 2. I mean, perfect accurate round 2. Still he had a slow round 1, but he dug his heels in and came to play in round 2, and that kind of shook me a little. But luckily, because of the lead I had masked in round 1, I was able to build on that lead by another point in round 2, and that sort of gave me the knockout going into round 3.
All right. Now, Nico, I know that you probably mentioned you had at least a question or 2 for our special guest tonight. Did you want to ask him anything right now?
Yeah. So, you've probably talked about this a lot on the other shows that you've been on, because you are a hot commodity, and that they're having you on for a reason. But talk a little bit about your preparation, and I understand that the fan leagues have been a little bit of an inspiration for that preparation. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. When I decided I'll like go into deeply studying for the Schmoedown, the first thing I did was like watch all the IG matches of the Schmoedown in the Schmoedown itself. But as you can see, there's only like 40 or 50 or less than 50 matches overall. If you think just about IG in Schmoedown, apart from like seeing the movies that InnerGeekDom covers, like you constantly want to be testing yourself and like finding questions that are in the level of the Schmoedown as well. Right? That's when I started like jumping to the fan leagues also, So I started playing along with matches in Full Metal Geek and the multiplex matches, and what was the other one?
The
Phantom.
Movie Face Off.
Movie Trivia Face Off. They started very recently, and they're doing really good work with the Geektacular as well.
Still undefeated.
Nice. It's nice to have that sort of extra practice, and it's one thing to like study or like play quizzes online, but it's totally a different thing to like hear these questions and like try to answer them within that time frame, and that not just a Schmoedown, the fan league sort of helped me with those as well.
And obviously you have your favorites in the Schmoedown, but I'm guessing there are also some people you gravitated to in the fan league. So besides Robert Parker, because I feel like that's already going to be a name you're going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say Robert Parker first.
Like, who are some of your favorites here in the minors that you like to watch and learn from?
I like Jay Burns. Jay Burns was really good. I think he knows what he knows. RJ, like the amount of passion he shows for Middle Earth is just
that's true.
And certain categories he would not even like try bothering or guessing an answer. He would just be like, nope, I don't know. So that's something I really like. C-Dub was also good. Nico is really good too. You were good too.
Yay! Recognition.
And who else? Dominic Rizzi. He's like a Paulo Yama type person in that he's like really cocky about what he knows. I think if he comes to the Schmoedown, he'll play like a pretty good heel. But like, there's no denying like the knowledge base that you guys all have. It's the fan leagues, like you guys are working on like on a totally different level of questions. The questions are like much harder than the Schmoedown, I would say, for the most part. And that kind of helps me too. And I've seen a lot of like questions that's been asked in the fan leagues, like as in the Schmoedown later. So it's like directly helping in my preparation too.
Yeah, the difference is sometimes that a question that is a 1-pointer in the fan leagues can sometimes be a 5-pointer in the
Schmoedown.
Yeah. You know, who were the first people to leave Andy's room in Toy Story 3? Okay. Really, fuckers? That's the kind of question you're gonna ask me? Thanks, I appreciate that. But
I got that question right.
And you couldn't find a way to sneak me the answer to that, partner? Thanks.
I'm sorry I don't have the gift of telepathy.
Well, that goes double for me because I would have happily given you some answers that, you know, unfortunately you didn't quite pick up either. But, you know, and Chandru, honestly, like, thank you. That's really awesome that you will give the love back to the fans, even in that simple of a regard. You know, like that's really cool, honestly. You know, and you know, and I've actually, you know, indirectly helped you study a couple times through your Facebook page. Guys, go to Facebook, look up the Drew Train, DRU Train, you know, Drew, and go join that Facebook page. And to be honest, you know, maybe you'll catch Chandru on a day where he says, "Help me study," and just throw me some questions. And yeah, I'd say, you know, like, and just be honest with me. How awesome is that you have a Facebook page where fans of yours will just straight up do that for you? Like, just honestly, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's very surreal. So usually, you know, we shoot on Saturdays, and just like a week before the last match that we taped, the Call to Action guys started this fan page, and they were like, yeah, we usually also help the pros train for their matches as well. So you can just post on the Facebook page and like ask for questions, and like people usually like comment with these like usually deep cuts that you can like test yourself on. And I was doing like I only had like 5 days to go, so I was doing 2 categories a day just to like quickly recap all of those for IG real quick. And shout out like each day I would get like 20 to 30 questions, like some real deep cuts. And when I get them, I'll like really feel good about like my knowledge base in those categories. And when I don't get them, of course, I know what type of questions I need to like focus more on as well. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. You guys should definitely like check out Drew Train. Like we're doing more of the training part. We're trying to have like other types of posts as well, and not just have like a one-way communication where the fans are just helping me. Like I also want to kind of give back in that sense, and not just like utilize it for personal gain. I mean, it's more than just like you guys help training me. It's just a fun place where you can hang out and like ask any questions that you want, and have a more direct interaction.
All right, sorry for any background noise you might have heard there. Apparently, the local rednecks are deciding to have a little bit of fun with some shooting shit. Yeah.
I
didn't hear anything.
Okay, well,
me neither.
Good. That means I can just fear for my life in peace. Perfect. I'm kidding. You know, luckily where I live in the world, you know, everyone's pretty harmless. You know, as far as I'm aware, there's no assholes. But Kees, was there anything in particular you wanted to ask Chandru as the host of our Schmoedown reactions?
Yes, and as a big geek myself, I am wondering where your love for geek movies comes from, and like what are some of your favorite franchises / movies?
So for me, it started with Harry Potter, like because I've said this in other interviews before. I grew up in India, so most of the movies I grew up watching were all like Tamil and Hindi movies, and but then I started watching Harry Potter, and I think the first movie I must have seen like 30, 40 times. Like every time it's on TV, every time there's a rerun of this of the Sorcerer's Stone, I would just like continue watching it. And then coming to college was when like I really got into geek culture. Like watched a lot of comic book movies, a lot of the superhero stuff, and like it just sort of one thing led to another. And I watched a lot of Star Wars too. But even in my like real life profession, I'm a geek at the heart. I was super into the STEM field. I'm an aerospace engineer by profession. I did my undergrad in aerospace engineering, and then my master's and PhD is in aerospace as well. That's why I came to the US. That's what I came to the US to do. So because I was because I'm really interested in aerospace, like I was naturally sort of gravitated towards both Star Wars and Star Trek, and I always like like I said, I grew up with Harry Potter, watching the movies and like reading those books, and yeah, and once I went to college, like most of the movies that I would share amongst my friends would be Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, etc. And that's sort of where the geeky stuff comes in. And yeah, I'm a big fan of like sci-fi as well, and Star Wars and Star Trek are some of the biggest like sci-fi movies there are, and that's where my love for geeky stuff comes in.
Awesome. No, seriously, that is freaking cool. You know, and and actually, if I may, tell me a little bit about growing a love for movies in India, like, because obviously, you know, living here in America my whole entire life, I'm really only exposed to Hollywood. I'm only exposed to American cinema. Now, granted, I have sought out, you know, films from all over the world, and including some stuff from India. Like just last year, I actually caught both Bahubali the beginning and Bahubali the conclusion. And do you want to know something? I love it. I love that. I love those films. They are so great. But like,
I like the trailer.
Yeah. Considering for Kees, that is his most popular reaction video when he had his own separate channel. But no, like, tell me about growing up with, you know, Bollywood and some of that type of cinema, like versus being exposed to Hollywood and other foreign films later on, if you could.
Yeah, like growing up, like our family was always like big into movies. If we watch a movie, like we go to the theaters almost like once in 2 weeks, and even when we're at home, most of the time, like on TV, it would just be like one of the movies that are just on. That would be like running in the background. I grew up watching TV my entire life. Basically movies on TV my entire life. I would just like no matter whether we were doing homework or studying, our house like the TV would be like running in the background in our living room the entire time. And it to be frank, like Indian movies, especially Tamil ones, are like more dramatic. There's the action is a little bit like surreal, larger than life type of action. You can, as you could have guessed from like as you could have seen in Bahubali as well. And a lot of English movies, like Hollywood movies, make their way to India as well. Just the big budget ones, like most of the Spielberg ones make it there. More recently, Nolan's and Tarantino movies and James Cameron movies make it there. And of course, all of these big budget blockbuster tentpole movies, like all the geeky movies, make it there. So most of the English movies that I watched while growing up in India were all these like geeky movies that sort of like gravitated towards. But then once we went to college, like there was this like unlimited, infinite database of movies that all friends had. We have our local network where we just like share and watch all of these movies, and it sort of became like a pastime, or just watch a movie before going to sleep or something like that. And we had in our college we had like this open air amphitheater as well, and they would screen a movie almost every month. And because
Awesome.
the college I went to was one of the national institutes, like there were just people from all different states, so we all spoke different languages. So most of the times, the movies that would air are English Hollywood movies, so we can have like these common languages. So those were fun to watch, like amongst our friends as well, in this sort of like big amphitheater setting. So it's always been a big part of my life, to inspire, to entertain, as well as like to relieve my boredom. And then as soon as I saw the movie trivia Schmoedown League, especially the IG matches, I was like, okay, this is what it's all led to. Like I feel like I've been training for the IG League my entire life by watching all these movies, and it all just like came to fruition within this like 6 months.
Do you feel like you're sort of representing the international audience of the Schmoedown with your position in the Schmoedown? Because with the exception of maybe Steele Saunders and Alicia Malone from back in the early days, there haven't really been a lot of international competitors in the Schmoedown, minus those two people from Australia that I just mentioned. So do you feel like you're carrying an entire nation on your shoulders?
Yeah, I wouldn't like put the weight of representation of like the entire international community on myself. But one thing I wanted to see was more representation, right? Like I wanted more of people who look like me, and I wanted Schmoedown to also reflect how diverse movie fans are. Like and after seeing people like Clark Wolf and Rachel Cushing not just talk the talk, they wanted to see more female representation, and the best thing it was they just went ahead and did it, and they were representing women on the league, and that was what inspired me as well. I can't just like keep watching it and wishing there was some Indian representation or some South Asian representation. I just wanted to go on and like do it for myself and like for the other people watching, and yeah, it worked out. And that's Christian is always looking to make it more diverse, more inclusive. This Schmoedown, like he wants people from all walks of life to be in there. And like I said, I'm more from the scientific background. All the performance aspects that I do are like mostly on the side, just for fun, like as hobbies. And to sort of have that as to sort of delve deeper into that aspect of performing and bringing that to the forefront was really interesting too.
Awesome.
Have you been approached by any factions as of yet? Because you right now in terms of the Schmoedown, you're kind of one of the lone wolves that have been having a lot of success. And in this day and age of the Schmoedown, that's kind of rare. Like everyone is sort of affiliated with somebody else. and having that group to help them prepare for all those matches and keep them in the right headspace, be it as part of a tag team or a faction. But you've pretty much just got a large fan base helping you out, and you're taking the reins by yourself. So, have you been approached by anyone yet?
That is true. A lot of people come in with their own managers or factions. A lot of people are approached by factions or go and approach factions, sometimes multiple factions even. But I haven't been approached by anyone yet. But I'm also like trying to just like make a name for myself and before joining a faction. I'm also looking at which faction would be the best fit for me, and I would want to join a faction which does not already have an IG player. So there's not a lot of those that check both those boxes, and I cannot state enough how important having an active manager is, like especially during the matches to call those challenges or like to advise or to debrief in between rounds. So that would be something I'd totally be down for. But as of now, I've not been like approached by anyone. But if I were to choose a faction, it would be one of the face factions. I wouldn't mind joining with Bibiani and the kid if they have like a dedicated manager to themselves. Too. I know Odd Couple is kind of. I know the Odd Couple is like kind of like a tweener faction, but Roxy is kind of like has the same vibe as me as a manager, and I feel like she'd be a really productive, like hands-on manager. That's what I'd be looking for. And if the Five Club existed, even though Rachel was also an IG player, I would have like hands down at least applied for that faction.
Would you be opposed to joining the services of Jay Washington? Because if you're looking for someone who's always going to be in your corner, Jay Washington will pretty much leave the hospital on his deathbed to come make sure you're taken care of in a match.
For sure, Jay Washington would be an absolute dream of a manager for me. After my debut match, he was one of the people who came to me first and was like, I know how bad a loss feels. You're going to kick yourself over like the questions that you missed for like about a week or so. First of all, he said, don't do that and move on. Like think about the next match and don't worry about this at all. Like think about like how well you actually did. Don't worry too much about the failure. And yeah, he is to see him backstage with like how much he peps up both Janine and Ethan. That's wonderful. Like I would love to have Jay Washington in my corner. Who wouldn't? And now that they've rebranded themselves as like faces too, that's a great faction also. Yeah, they call it. It's just the team. He's just
right now it's managing a time machine. But...
It's just a team. Yeah, they're just managing a team right now. So I don't know if he has a faction name or anything, but that'll be a good faction to be in too.
Okay, all I know is that I want to see this team up now. I want this to be a thing. This should be a thing.
Yes.
And I think you actually like would be a much better fit than I think any of us realize. Like, because you have the kind of personality that, whether you know it or not, you have the level of energy to match with a Janine the Machine or a Jay Washington. So I think, yeah, you know what? Okay, somebody take the audio version of this episode and send it to Jay and let him hear for himself, like why this is a good idea. Because yeah, he needs a solid InnerGeekDom player. Because sorry, Jay, you've been a little rusty the last few times you've competed. So
you remember Smets?
New generation. So
yeah, I don't know if Jay wants to continue playing, but he still has a lot of like IG wisdom that he'd be able to help me with as well as a manager. Especially if he during challenges, he's gonna be a hell of a get.
I have seen him get intense when it comes to challenging,
Yep.
and it is a scary sight for all the right reasons.
Yes.
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, Kees, Nico, like, is there anything else you guys got in your mind you want to ask Chandru?
So going back to we were talking about the fan leagues earlier, and one of the fan league superstars that have made it to the Schmoedown was Chance Ellison, who you got to share the ring with, and we can't say whether or not it happened for a week or so now, but he may or may not be the team champion of the Schmoedown by the time we're shooting this. So to have gotten to share the ring with him, as well as Brandon Hanna and Keaton Markey, she wasn't
Keaton.
in the fan leagues, but Brandon was for a brief time, and you're going to be facing Brandon again. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But what was it like to share the ring with some of the guys who have shown that there are more than one way to get to the big show?
Seeing Chance get into the league was one of the inspiration points for me too. Again, late to the party was one of the first fans to do it, to be part of the show, but then when Chance came in, he had his own character, I guess, as much as you can call wearing shades and a hat a character, but yeah, it
Yes. I've gained a little bit of a reputation because before Chance joined the big leagues, I had a little bit of a rivalry with him. So every time I see him, I have to automatically yell, "Chance!" That's kind of my thing. So please continue.
That's your con shout.
He literally is. He is the con to my Kirk.
Yeah. So it was actually inspiring to see that you can be in the fan leagues, you could do really well, and then get promoted in a sense to the Schmoedown. But true story, if the awards day where I was talking to Christian, I was also talking to Chance and getting some details about how to get involved in the fan leagues. So if Christian wasn't that impressed and asked me to come to the studio for some to watch some matches, I would have gone to the fan leagues first, proved myself there, and then shifted over. That was my plan going into the awards show. But luckily, Christian liked what I had to offer, and he made me show up to the studio, and then gave me a debut match and so on. But yeah, it's really inspiring. Paul Oyama came in from the fan leagues too, and he's on a tear lately. Since he came in, he's 5-0 in singles, and he's undefeated in teams as well. So he's played 6 matches in the Schmoedown. He's won every single one of them. And even in the free for all where he lost, he still had 80% accuracy. He was the 2 questions he missed came in the same round, and that was the only unfortunate part. And Bibbs he just happened to be the lowest scoring of that round and got eliminated with the rest of the crew. But he's I would say the front runner for Player of the Year right now. And Chance is playing a title match with the Shire Wolves, past, present, whatever. Too. So to come and Kevin Smets, who kind of played in the fan leagues before coming to the Schmoedown. He has a number one contender. He had a number one contender match, and he's probably going to be in title contention for the rest of the season as well. So fans of the league, people who grew up watching, who've been studying watching these Schmoedown matches have made a really big impression. And even though I didn't come from the fan leagues, I still think of myself as a Schmoedown fan first, and a Schmoedown pro after. So even on days when I don't have a match taping, I still make it a point to go to the studio and sit and watch all those matches, because I love the Schmoedown so much. And it still feels surreal to me.
You're a student of the game, and that's what I think a lot of people like about you as well, is that no matter how much success you have, you're always going to want to come back for more, always striving to get better no matter what. You won your past 2 matches, and yet you were still unsatisfied with your performances. You felt like there's room to keep getting better and better and better. And I equate that to show my MMA knowledge. Cain Velasquez, no matter how long he was undefeated for, he kept thinking, I can do better, I can do better, I can do better.
Yeah.
And he beat Brock Lesnar for the heavyweight title. Now, granted, after that, he kept getting hurt to the point that he could barely defend the title, but still, like, he was always striving for perfection. And I feel like I get the same out of you. And I feel like that's especially necessary when your next opponent is going to be someone you faced in your debut, and now you're getting another shot against Brandon Hanna. So that match compared to this upcoming one that you're going to have, what do you see as the big difference?
Oh yeah, that's very well put. Even if I win those matches, I can see how narrowly I escaped those ones, and how easily I missed some of these easy points. Like I said, even my match against Havon, I knew Norway, but I second guessed myself and talked myself into giving the wrong answer. So I'm constantly looking to improve my accuracy and improve my knowledge with every single match in the Schmoedown. I like to keep saying this. Like my first match, I missed like 6 questions. My second match, I missed 4, and then my third match, I missed only 2. So my goal is to get to perfect accuracy or perfect matches, and that's still a long way to go. There's a lot of luck involved, and there's a lot of preparation involved, and retaining a lot of the knowledge, and like starting to play the game as well, play the game better as well. And going into this match against Brandon Hanna, if it was me from my first match going against Brandon, I can say hands down Brandon's gonna win. But I've improved a lot since my first match. I'm not the same player that I was during that debut. I've literally played more matches than him, 3 matches, and I've learned more from my failure from my loss than from my 2 wins. So I have that sort of extra knowledge under my belt as well. And I know that it's a possibility that at any time anyone could win or lose, and that's cannot be understated as a lesson that I take with myself going into this Showdown. But any given day, it's all the spin of the wheel. There's so much luck involved. So there's only so much preparation that you can do. But one good thing about IG matches, IG is like it's a very limited set of movies, and you can actually study to completion in some sense, and that's what I'm doing going into that match.
Oh, limited set of movies is still about 200 movies.
It is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've been going back into studying mode myself because I want to get back into competing in geek, and I've been making a list of like, holy shit, there are a lot of geek movies. But what was I going to say? Actually, Nico, you stole my thing. I wanted to ask him about his upcoming match against Brandon because it's going to be a rematch.
Well, no, you can still go from that angle though. Like
Yeah.
Well,
so please.
Yeah, that's the thing. In your first match, you had some. I think you also had a little bit of bad luck with the questions because there were some questions that you and we as well as the audience were like, "What the hell are they asking about?" But you've learned from that, as you said, and you're going to now go into your second match against Brandon. So. I just wonder, how do you feel about this match going? How do you think it will play out? And I also wonder what is after that. Do you know who you could be playing next after that?
Should you win?
Yeah. So for sure, I hit some bad luck in my debut match. I still kick myself over not respinning after heroes and villains. It's just that there were some wheel slices that I was more afraid of than heroes and villains. So I was like, this is not too bad. Most of it's going to be like a mixed bag, which is fine. But then some of those questions I was sort of like really bothered me, like the Rocketeer question or the Justice League screenplay writers. So I think all of the Schmoedown, there's only been like 2 screenplay questions, and or 2 or 3 screenplay questions, and that was my 3-pointer. It was a streak of bad luck, but there was a bunch of questions that I knew, and I knew, but I still went to multiple choice on, or I knew, but then I still gave the wrong answer on. So I wouldn't just blame luck on that part. So if you're fully prepared, luck sort of goes out the window in some sense, and that's what I'm aiming towards. And to answer the second part of your question, wait, what was the second part?
Who would be next if you?
Oh
should
yeah.
win?
So I'm guessing. So if uh if Brandon wins, he would be 3-0, and if I win, I'd be 3-1. But with a 3-game win streak, either of us, if we win, we'd be a 3-game win streak. I think our next match would be a number 1 contender match. I don't know who it would be against. It could be Mara, or it could be Kevin Smets, because Kevin Smets also, after he's 4-1 now, and after that like impressive victory against Hlavak, he's not quite ready. He wouldn't be directly put into a title match, but maybe he's going to get a number 1 contender match again as well. So it'd be the winner of us versus either Smets or Mara. That's what I'm guessing. I can't say for sure.
Either way, that's gonna be an entertaining match any which way you look at it, because that's one of the other things that I honestly have to appreciate about yourself and Hannah, because for the longest time the conversation was just, oh, there are only 3 great InnerGeekDom players. There was Mike, Rachel, and Smets, because Mara was still retired, Jason had retired, but now, again, you guys are cropping up and you're showing everybody that, like, oh, no, we have more people who can compete in InnerGeekDom and can hang with the greats. So, and feel free to be honest here. Do you feel like there's any pressure on you that you have to quote unquote succeed moving forward in the league? Or do you just sort of brush it off as just like, I'm just here to have fun and do what I can do?
So definitely that's sort of the image I like my character to project. So yeah, so no matter how nervous I am, like my character, like in the Schmoedown, is just going to look like he's just there to have fun. But yeah, I feel like both of us, both Hannah and I, have been sort of underrated when it comes to accuracy. Like he's only played 2 matches, but he's gone to round 3 in both of those matches, and he's sitting at an accuracy of like 80% or 81% right now. And I've played only 3 matches, and I'm at like 78% accuracy. So we're like pretty close to each other. But like I think Smets is around like 88 or 89% accuracy, but then Cushing and Kalinowski are also somewhere around the 80s, low 80s, as far as I know. So of course we haven't had so much game tape yet, but like when it comes to accuracy and like how much we know about these movies, we're kind of up there. Like I don't want to run my mouth and say we should be part of the best players ever conversation already, because we're still young pups.
But you're getting there
in the league. But yeah, we're definitely getting there. And the next match is going to seal the legacy for like one of us. And whoever wins in that match I would say should start considering us as amongst the likes of Mike, Mara, Rachel, Kevin, and so on. But yeah, I don't mind waiting for my time. Like the more underrated I am, like the less pressure I feel, and I like having no expectation. It's sort of less pressure. It's sort of less pressure that way. And I feel like even in the next match, there's more pressure on Brandon to win than me, because I've already lost to him, and he's the undefeated one, and he wants to keep his like clean record, perfect record going. And I just want to defeat that guy just because he's nowhere close to being humble about his first victory against me. So it'll just be a nice sort of redemption for me if I win. But one thing I know for sure is it's going to be a really high scoring match, regardless of who wins. and because both of us are like um, from our recent matches, like he only missed two questions the entire game, and I only missed two questions that entire game. So we're both playing at a much better level than when we came in, and there's not a number one contender or a title match. So round one questions are going to be easier than a title match or a number one contender match. So there's potential for a really high scoring match. And like I said, our accuracies are also like really neck and neck. So it's just going to depend on the day and who plays a better game and who has a little bit of luck on their side too.
Does the fact that Hanna might be coming into this match with possibly two factions in his corner add to some of the pressure? Because now we haven't seen Kalinowski versus Bateman yet, so we don't know if there were any cutscenes that changed the dynamic after what was released publicly yesterday. But from the look of it, Hanna's got has the services of the Horsemen and of the family in his corner now. And you've already stated earlier in the show that you're focusing on cementing your legacy as an individual right now. Although if the right faction made the right offer, you would take it. But right now you're an individual facing a guy who's got possibly two groups backing him up. So how does that feel? Like what does that do for the pressure that you face?
Yeah, I don't know which faction is gonna walk out with him, or like if it's going to be both factions. He has that sort of element of surprise on me. So I am just gonna hope for whatever. It's going to be some. He might pull a surprise element during his entrance and like walk out with one of the factions. I still don't know which one. But yeah, and he's going to walk out because he's going to be the favorite going into that match because he has a better record than I do. So one good thing is I'll already be on the desk. So I would have like finished my entrance and be already in like a relaxed headspace. So yeah, it's still I'm still not sure who he's going to walk up with, and that kind of can throw me off. But I'm just hoping I keep focusing on like my own stuff and just focus on the questions. But it's also the other part is no matter how many people you walk out with, once the round one rules are read and the question is asked, you're still up there by yourself answering the questions on your own. So it doesn't matter too much that he has a faction behind him. If he has an active manager, a hands-on manager, that might throw a wrench in the system. I mean, he might have a tactical advantage going forward, but like I just have to look out for myself in that way, and look out for my own challenges and stuff. That's it.
What I wonder, I wonder, do you have any entrance ideas for yourself in mind, like in a specific costume or anything?
Well, yeah, I definitely have.
I was gonna say it's funny about that because he just had a poll on that in the Drew train. So go join the Facebook page now.
Yeah, thanks for the plug. No, I definitely want to do more entrances. My first one was just Lego themed, so I was just wearing a T-shirt with Legos on them. I had like big plans of like actually dressing up like a Lego man and walking in as well. But then there's time and budget considerations. So I've been like trying to do sort of like IG themed entrances as much as possible. The second one, during my triple threat, I had a totally different entrance planned, but then I had told about this in a different interview. We had to like scrap that because my 2-year-old nephew got really scared of the Warfather. So the entrance was involving him. He was going to be baby Jack, and I was going to like walk in with him and like do laser eyes and pew 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 and all that. But then because we had to take him out because he was like fussy and crying. I had to like improvise my own entrance, like making fun of Smets. So that's why that one there wasn't a lot of it looked like there wasn't a lot of thought put into it. But yeah, the next one was Chewbacca. I'm looking to do more like IG themed entrances, and I'm that's one big aspect of the Schmoedown I really love, and I wanted to see more of it. And again, like I said, if I want to see more of it, I should go ahead and do it myself, and that's what I've been doing. And yeah, more entrance ideas are appreciated. If you can like either go on the Drew train and make a post or just message me about them, I'll definitely take them. So now that my moniker is Chandru the Chosen, I'm going more on those themes, like within IG, finding the chosen characters and like cosplay as them for my entrances.
And it's doubly hilarious that is where the cards have fallen, because that latest poll that you did put up of who should your next entrance be, and right now, if I'm not mistaken, the winner currently is Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Which yes, yes, all the yes, because God, and here's the thing, I can actually see it. I can see it. I can see you in the hat, and I can see you in the jacket with the whip. So please, if you have the ability to, do it.
No, if I can find those, stuff, I'll definitely consider it. But I'm not a big fan of Indiana Jones, except for just because who he is as a character and like the movies.
Fair enough.
How outdated they are as a movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah, as movie franchises. Yeah, man, Temple of Doom was so hard to watch for me, but I had to.
I can't imagine.
But I had to watch it because IG. So yeah, I'll definitely look for the second best option in the routine for now. But never say never. It's an easy costume to put together. I just need to find a torn shirt and a hat and a whip, which is which shouldn't be too hard to find. We'll see.
I wouldn't think so. But so, guys, we are going to start to wind down a little bit. But before we do, I'm going to ask a question, and then in case Nico, if you guys have anything else you want to ask, then by all means. But I'll just throw this to you right now, Chandru.
Yep.
So as we saw from the title match that dropped last night, it's safe to say that Clark Wolf and Rachel Cushing left one hell of a legacy on the Schmoedown, and not just for women players, but for all future competitors who want to get involved with this game. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind when, let's say, 4 years from now, you've done what you've needed to do, you've won the belt like 2 or 3 times, and I'm not even joking with this hypothetical. I can honest to God see it happening. Is that the kind of legacy you want to leave behind, or is it something a little bit more personal for you as far as what you want to accomplish?
I think the kind of legacy I want. It's too early for me to like think about legacy. I'm still like a pup in this Schmoedown compared to legends like Roka or Cushing or Clark Wolf. But I think recently we've seen the division, like seen the league go more seriously. Like turn very serious. There's the players who are having fun, and then there's the second group of players who are just there to like wreck shop, and answer just there for the trivia. And I want to bring in the Schmoedown of the old, where people are there to have fun, but they're also dangerous with their trivia knowledge. It's especially in IG, it's becoming way too serious. Way too quickly when you go into like the semifinals, the top 5 to 6 people and so on. So I kind of want to be the player who's bringing the fun back into the trivia. Like no matter how intense the matches is, I still want to be there because it's fun for me to be there, and that's the legacy I want to leave behind. I think I've said fun like 100 times already, but I just want to look like I'm enjoying my time there because and it shows because I'm actually enjoying my time there, and that's that's what I kind of want to be my legacy, and yeah, and I want to have this sort of like positive fan interaction going as well, and it's amazing to like see all the love, and end of the day we're just all big geeks, love sharing our love for movies, and no matter who, if you're in the Schmoedown or like just fans or fans of the Schmoedown watching it, we all love movies, and that's what we're here.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Kees, any final questions for our guest?
I don't. I think we've discussed about everything. We've asked about everything we could have asked, and I've heard everything that I thought I would hear, and even more. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. This is great, Nico.
So my question to you is this. Right before this podcast went on air tonight, the Star Wars Mandalorian trailer dropped, and we did not get a chance to watch it beforehand. Would you be interested in doing a reaction with us of the Mandalorian trailer as soon as we're done here with this podcast?
Right now, you're putting me on the spot. Of course, I'm gonna say yes. Dude, I haven't seen the Mandalorian trailer yet. Of course, so yeah, it'll be fun to watch it live and react to it. I haven't done reactions for trailers especially, so it would be muted reactions. We'll see. Yeah, but that's a yes for me.
Yes.
All right, well, then, guys, stay tuned for after the show, because about 20 minutes after we're done here, we'll have our Mandalorian trailer with Chandru Dhandapani. It'll be up on the channel. Very excited for that. But I do just have one last question for you, Chandru.
Yep.
And it's just a simple, what do you love the most about the Schmoedown?
I think it's the community part. It's just, I think everyone says after a certain age, it's really hard to like make friends or like to put yourself out there and like find people who are interested in the same stuff as you are. And for me, like finding so many people who are.
Was that?
I was just saying I can attest to this because I met my girlfriend through the community.
Great.
It's true, he did.
Yeah, finding so many people who are who love the same stuff as you and who are just as geeky, if not more, as you is hard to do, and especially even though like nowadays like geeky culture has become more mainstream, most of us still tend to not proudly show how geeky we are, and to have a safe space, and a community to show that and embrace that part. That's what I love most about this Schmoedown. And yeah, the fans are really amazing too, and to see that people not just like watch this content and like make their own content and react to it and like talk about it, make podcasts and interviews and so on. That is something really impressive about the Schmoedown. The fans, especially in the Facebook group and in the reaction channels and so on, they just are creating more additional additional content and talking to us and supporting us in any way possible, and that's been helping me win my matches, helping me during my matches too, and I can't understate that enough.
Awesome, and I can't think of a better way to end this episode. So with that, guys, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. As I mentioned, next week we will have Kaiser on the show to talk about everything going into New York. It's going to be a fun fucking time. Nico, you and I will probably be getting smashed with the Smasher, and it's going to be a fun time. But seriously, Chandru, we cannot thank you enough for the time that you were able to give to us. So thank you once again, sir. And please, where can the good folks find you online?
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. You can find me on the Drew Train Facebook fan page, as well as the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook fan page. I'll be there dropping comments and like most of the time. I'm at Chandru Thinks on both Twitter and Instagram, and trying to get more followers, so I tweet more and post more. But otherwise, yeah, all these places. Feel free to say hi if you meet me around the real world as well, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And Kees, where can the good folks find you online?
As always, we're keeping this going.
Yes, we are.
#China6.
#China6.
And of course, you can find me at Dutch Movie Guy on Twitter, Kees Cornelisse on Facebook and Letterboxd. Next week, I'll be posting how jealous I am of these guys who are going to New York and me not being there. Fuckers. And I think that's about it. Look out for our Mandalorian trailer reaction. Very hyped for that one. And I am going to appear in Geektacular, Movie Trivia Face Off, finally making my debut because, I'm kind of good with this stuff, so I want to get back into competing.
All right. And Nico, where can the good folks find you online?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at Nico Suave Rigoli, or just Nico Suave with 4 random meaningless numbers at the end on Discord, Instagram, and Snapchat coming soon. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook, Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. There's no letter G. Rolling Crits on YouTube, at Rolling Crits on Instagram. Hopefully my friends here in New Kensington, Pennsylvania get their shit together and we get another episode uploaded to you soon. Once again, thank you, Chandru, for being on the show. It was awesome. And #thank you, Shire Wolves.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Shire Wolves.
#thank you, Shire Wolves, indeed. And, of course, guys, you can always follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dohmen. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. And so I know I mentioned Kaiser's on next week, and yes, but I do also have another big announcement that will be coming next week. Of course, I'm not going to tell you all now. Why would I do that when I can savor the moment and build up to it? But of course, guys, yeah, exactly. You gotta hype this shit, man. That's how this works. But until next week, and once again, thank you immensely to our guest, Chandru Dhandapani. To everyone else out there, we'll see you next week, and you know what to do. Take care!
Yeah!